everyone, and welcome to the webinar on AI and automation. Sorry, we are a minute late. We are just trying to hash out some technical issues. We have, a lot of interest on this topic. I think we've had more than, I think more than 300 registrations. We are expecting a pretty large turnout over here. People are streaming in, so we'll give maybe a minute for people to stream in. But thank you so much for joining me. We have designed this webinar to be more action driven. The idea for us is to help you, get started on your journey to implement AI and automation and what it can do for you, how you can get executive buy-in, and what should a realistic roadmap look like, right? So that's the goal for us on this webinar. And that, let's just get started. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay. There we go. My screen's here. That's perfect. I'm going to present this. All right, so welcome to this webinar on AI and automation in recruiting. Just a quick agenda on what we are going to go through. It's very simple. What to expect from AI, what to expect from automation, what should be your roadmap of implementation, what should you tackle first, what should you tackle later, and what would your journey look like over there. And at the end, we want to talk about some real-world use cases, examples that we have seen our customers implement and has delivered tremendous returns for them, right? So that's roughly our agenda today. So we're going to start with, a typical journey that you will go through when you are trying to implement AI, right? So right now, the hype around AI is, in my opinion, pretty much at its peak. There is a lot of excitement. The possibilities are endless. But once you start getting into the weeds, a lot of inefficiencies, a lot of holes appear, right? So, and as you implement it, there is, resistance to change. There are going to be certain imperfections. There are going to be some misfires as well, right? So you're going to have all of that, and you're going to have like a trough of frustration and resistance. But I want you to remember that this is, this is a transformative technology. We are still very early. The pace at which it is changing is remarkable. And I'm not new to AI, right? Like I started my first company back in 2013 doing AI, right? So we did massive data analytics to predict churn for mobile app developers. Did that back in 2013 before AI was cool or AI was hot. I think I have a better than average understanding of technology and trends with AI. So I know that there is a lot of excitement. It's not going to prove through to a lot of the excitement and hype that we have around it. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. We need to stick to the program, and there is going to be a lot of rewards, especially over the course of next 12 to 24 months. The pace at which it is changing, the new capabilities that are coming out, it's going to look like a completely new world in next 2 years in all the industries, including recruiting. So this is what your journey is going to look like. And I want you to remember, light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give up at frustration and resistance stage. Keep at it, and you will reap the rewards, right? So just want to set the expectations about implementing AI. And also there is a lot of confusion about what AI can do and what AI cannot do, right? Like the hype around AI creates this mirage of magic. So I want to give a very quick understanding of what you can expect AI to do and what you should not expect AI to do, right? So AI can significantly reduce repetitive tasks, right? So it can significantly reduce the amount of time that you spend researching It can craft, great content. This is where a lot of progress has been made recently. It can identify patterns and make predictions, which is, a lot of progress has been made on this front lately. And what AI cannot do is very high agency work, right? Like AI cannot recognize people's potential. It's very easy for AI to miss patterns unless you feed it with lots and lots of data. And of course, like AI is not very good at, building empathy, building relationships, and understanding people, right? So those things still need to be very, very human-centric. So with that, let's just dive into how to implement AI. So I would, we would give you a 3-step roadmap of implementing AI, right? So the step number 1, generating content. Step number 2, enhancing productivity. And step number 3 is get AI to predict outcomes. And we'll dive deeper into all of this and use cases, right? So the first, this is easiest to understand. I think everybody is doing this, right? Like use AI to create JD, use AI to write an email, use AI to summarize something, right? Like this is one of the easiest things to do with AI, and super easy to implement and super easy to get quick wins out of this, right? So I'm sure all of you have already probably tried doing this at least once. Just want to quickly show you what you can do in terms of generating summaries, right? So we have this dummy account. I have this candidate. I'm just going to go to RFGPT feature and just going to ask it to generate candidate summary. So it's going to use AI to generate that summary. I can now ask, interact with this, make it different, right? Like remove PII, make it shorter, whatever I need to do, or just save it to profiles. It's going to save it to this person's profile and then the profile summary section of the candidate. So you can, just very simple, very easy way for you to generate summary, very submission ready summaries as well, that you can maybe make a few edits and just send it over to clients for submission, right? So one quick use case that you can do with AI. Let's go back to presentation. I just wanted to show that quick use case. The second is enhancing productivity. Now, this is going to be your stage 2, going to be a little bit more difficult to implement because you're going to have to ask people to change the way that they always work. But again, great rewards out of it, right? So one use case that we internally use quite frequently and it has given us great results is get ChatGPT to write Boolean strings, right? So I know a lot of you are, sourcing wizards. You know Boolean strings like the back of your hand, but a lot of times you might miss things, and AI is a great way to kind of give you an idea, give you that spark of creativity. Oh, maybe I missed this. Maybe I can explore this path, right? Like, so that's how it has worked really, really well for our own recruiting team, and can work really well for you. Speech to text, again, right? Like incredible progress. I think one of the great examples is Gmail. I think probably the best speech to text out there, right? So we also have it in Recruiter Flow where you can write notes, write emails, just say them and hit send, right? Like, or hit save, right? Like you can save notes, just say them and we will transcribe them, and you can just makes it very, very fast for you to do these things. And third is analyze and summarize your calls, right? So because of the progress that has been made in speech to text, now there is a lot of speech data which can become searchable and indexable for you. So imagine the treasure trove of data that you have when you speak on the phone or Zoom with your candidates, with your clients. There is incredible amount of data which was not getting captured. Now with modern transcription and summarization, all of that data can be captured and can be searched inside Recruiter Flow. So we are working with our partner MetaView, which would record your calls, transcribe your calls, summarize your calls in any format that you want. doing save on recruiter flow, and all of that data. So if you mentioned a word during a conversation with a candidate or a client, that word is now searchable on that candidate's profile, right? So that's how incredible it is, right? So there is a lot of data that was being, that was not getting captured. Now it can get captured and you can use it, right? So there's some use cases in terms of enhancing, enhancing your productivity, things that you are already doing, but just kind of making it way better, way easier. So this is, again, right, like implementing this is going to require a little bit of change management. You've been working a particular way, you have to adopt to changes. So it's going to be a little bit harder sell for an organization. You're going to be, you will have to build new habits for yourself as well. So that's your step number 2. Once you've crossed this, you are on step number 3, and that is use AI to do prediction and aid in analysis. Now, you are looking at this, you might say, hey, matching candidates to jobs, this is nothing new. This has been around for at least a decade. Well, you're right. What has changed is that the way it should be done now, right? So historically, how matching candidates to jobs has worked is you look at a job, there is a bunch of keywords, you look at synonyms, you look at, a large database of resumes, you look at those keywords and their synonyms in those databases, you look at, those resumes, you see how frequently do they appear, how far up do they appear in the resume, and accordingly you give weightage and you, suggest candidates. Well, that worked. I don't think it worked really, really well. But now with LLMs, the game has changed, right? Like now with LLMs, LLMs are great at consuming really, really large amount of text data, right? So now, and what essentially these engines are doing is that after every word, they're prediction engines, right? So after every word, they're predicting what should be the next best word, right? So that's how they're forming sentences that are coherent, that actually make a lot of sense, right? So you can use the same LLMs to predict who's going to be successful in this job, right? So you are not just looking at, you're not just matching keywords. You are matching, millions of careers, right? Like millions of career arcs that people have had, right? Like hidden things that people mention in their resume, and like over, millions and millions of people, those patterns, become apparent. AI can, is amazing at finding them and giving you very, very high precision matches, right? So, and similarly, right, like finding candidates to match a job, and similarly finding similar candidates, right? So I have a candidate, that is great, right? Like, so AI can, you can use AI to use prediction of, who are other candidates who can be successful in the same role that this candidate is in, right? So let's take a look at the example over here, right? So just going to, again, use the recruiter flow. You can use this in your own ATS. There are a host of different independent matching provider. Like we have partnership with Senslow. Does a really good job at it as well. But just to kind of show natively in recruiter flow, right? So I'm picking this job, account executive, right? So account executive, if you are familiar with the world of software, account executive is a role that is a sales position, right? So typically, but the name can sound confusing because it can be associated with accounting. It can be associated with, account management, which is more traditionally customer success oriented. But account executive is a sales role, and either you have sales background or you are a sales rep or a sales development rep in our industry, and you get promoted to become an account executive. So we are going to look at, so I'm taking this difficult example and want to show you the results over here, right? So, let me just expand this, right? So as you can see, all of these people are salespeople, right? Like it's not, because it's looking at what are the different career arcs, what are the different patterns that people have to become an account executive at a company like Recruiter Flow, and matching all of that over here, right? So if, for example, if you see, right, like a lot of people here will have cloud and technology experience because that's the industry that we operate in. And a couple of people, again, fictitious, Pam Beasley and Stanley Hudson over here, who are not account executives. They are sales development representatives, but these are the positions that get promoted to account executives. The AI figured that, okay, sales reps, they can get promoted to account executives, so might be a good candidate to look at. They are not near the top. They are somewhere around in the middle. So again, right, like it works really, really well in terms of pattern matching. I wanted to take this example to differentiate between, keyword matching and actual pattern recognition that is now possible with AI, right? So keyword matching would have given us a lot of accounting and account management people. But if you go beyond that and do pattern matching, it will, remove all of those and just give us salespeople, right? So that's the real power that AI has brought to candidate matching algorithms. Also, right, like candidate to candidate matching, right? So again, we'll go back to Ghazal, this candidate that we have, and say, find, oops, my bad, find smart matches. So let AI do its thing. And there we go. We have a bunch of people like Ghazal. So if we go back to Ghazal, she is a software engineer at Google, right? So now somebody working at a company like Infosys might not be a good candidate for software engineer at Google, right? So Google is, has really, really high bar for hiring engineers. And so let's look at some of these candidates that we have over here, right? So I look at the first candidate was suggested, Microsoft, right? Like this person is an engineer at Microsoft. Again, Google, Microsoft, both very high bar. It's recognizing this pattern that people at Google move to Microsoft and vice versa. That's why this is a great candidate, right? Like let's look at the next best person that it recommended. Again, Microsoft, right? Like again, this person is currently working at Google. So again, very, very similar to the candidate that we started with, right? So if you see all of the candidates over here will be, those who are working at companies that are comparable to Google, right? So that's how powerful the pattern matching is, and that's how it has radically changed the way that you do candidate matching for a job, or candidate to candidate matching. Right. So you want to be sure that whatever technology that you pick, that they are not using the old tech stack. It's real LLM prediction based technology, right? So just want to be sure of that. And let's just go back to presentation mode over here. And third, something that we found very interesting in our internal use cases is finding similar companies, right? So, you might know your industry very, very well, but you always can miss something. So if you can ask AI that, hey, I am hiring a software engineer for, let's say, Microsoft, what are the companies that I should recruit from? It can, look at a whole lot of data and give you some great answers, right? Like what are the companies, where, that people work at. There is a lot of migration happening from Oracle to Microsoft. So it might be a good idea for you to, go and hunt from Oracle, right? So AI, fantastic at that. So one good heuristic that I like to use is that if you can get a high school graduate, give them some basic set of instructions without any understanding of your industry or any, background into recruiting, what they can accomplish in 30 to 45 minutes of research on search engines, something that AI can do under 5 minutes, right? So that's really the power of AI over here, right? So I also want to, I kept this as the most difficult thing to implement because, it looks easy, but for all of these things to work, you need to make sure that your data is up to date, right? Like, so if your candidate data is old, no matter how good your matching algorithm is, it's not going to give you good results, right? You want to be sure that your candidate data is always up to date. So we have a data refresh feature that makes sure that if a candidate changes jobs or gets promoted, it automatically reflects on their profiles and things like that. If you can do that manually, you can use different data vendors, but you want to make sure that your candidate data is up to date for AI to actually do its job, for you to actually reap the rewards of AI, right? So, and that is a very difficult thing to do, right? So you have to do all of this preparation for AI to actually deliver results for you. And that is why I have put this as number C, the most difficult thing to do, because there's a lot of preparation, a lot of work that needs to be done from AI perspective, from data structure perspective, before you can actually get ROI from this, right? So that's why this is a difficult thing to implement. So that's about AI. If you have any questions, again, just make sure you put it in the Q&A section. Now we are going to talk about, let's go a level higher and say, okay, I've got AI, but my ultimate goal is automation and productivity, right? Like, how do I get more out of less? That's the theme of the season, right? And that's where to mix AI and automation to kind of really, really transform your recruiting operations, right? So again, I'm going to put this into three categories. Again, the easiest to most difficult. So communication, easiest; process automation, a little bit more difficult; nurturing automation, the most difficult thing to implement over here. So this is what your ideal automation roadmap should also look like, right? So first, you automate your communication, whether it's candidates, clients, wherever you find the opportunity. Second, you automate your processes, which is a little bit more difficult to do. And third is you run a proper marketing automation kind of an engine, right? So just going to take a few examples, a few use cases over here, right? So something very simple. I think pretty much everybody today does this, right? Like if a candidate applies, if you do advertise your jobs, candidate applies, send them thank you for applying message, or that's the most basic hygiene that everybody should be following. Or if they get disqualified, right, like automatically send them a status update. Second is whenever a candidate status changes, update them. If you want to really up the stakes, provide that white glove candidate experience, right? Like you want to send them, if the candidate is interviewing today, you want to send them, hey, good luck, just confirming your interview, yada, yada, yada. You want to send that today, right? So again, right, like I'm putting this as easiest to implement because the ROI or the effect of this is very, very immediate, right? So it helps you create a great candidate experience, right? Like all of us want to create that great candidate experience. All of us want to give that white glove treatment to every candidate that we interact with, but it's just not possible, right? Like an average recruiter, it's about 38 emails a day. So that's about, 90 minutes gone already, right? So that's a lot of time, right? Like on top of it, if you start, giving all of these updates, right? So that's going to become a lot of work. And that's going to, take the time away from, you actually sourcing or screening or talking to your clients, right? So all the high agency work, right? So high leverage work. So, so that's why without putting any additional effort, you can deliver that experience to your candidates. And, it becomes very easy for you to prove ROI over here. It's not very complex to implement. So, just simple, right? So another great example is that we have seen our customers do is check-ins post-placement. So if you made a placement for the first 2 months to 3 months, very critical period, you want to stay in touch with your candidate and clients. And if there is going to be a potential issue, you want to be ahead of it so that you can, do something about it, right? So again, all of these things are prime candidates for automation. So one rule of thumb for implementing automation for your communication is that look at the email or SMS templates that you are using, right? So whether that is in your ATS, in your CRM, or in your just in your Outlook or Gmail. So all of these emails are templates because you're sending them out repeatedly, right? Like look at all the repeated emails that you're sending out. They are your number one target for automating away. Then look at, okay, so I've done this now. If I had infinite time, how much communication would I do with my candidates, right? Like what would I communicate with them? And that is your, number two target for communication automation, right? So what does that white glove treatment look like for you, right? So that's pretty simple thing to implement. Quickest ROI is here. So that's communication automation. Let me show you an example in Recruiter Flow. We have this automation set up, right? So what it does is that candidate is going to be interviewing tomorrow. So it says if a candidate is interviewing tomorrow, that's so triggered. The action is send them a text message saying, hi, first name, best of luck for your interview tomorrow for, this job title with this client. You got this, right? So all of this, right? So this is, again, right, like, things that are very difficult to do manually, but just a breeze if we can to automate and just creates really, really high impact in terms of the experience that you are delivering, right? So just one example that we discussed over here. Back to the presentation. Now, I want to, so the second stage of your journey of automation is going to be process automation. As you grow, a lot of processes are going to come into the picture, right? So if you're a, let's say a 10 people business, 10 recruiters business, you want to still have the same efficiency, the same treatment that you gave to your, that made you successful, right? Like when you were just 2 people, the kind of attention that you gave to your candidates, to your clients, but it's very difficult to scale at 10 people. And that is where process automation comes into the picture, right? So you want to identify pockets in your process that are target for automation. So first, we are going to discuss a few use cases that we have seen. By no means these use cases are exhaustive. What we have done is cherry pick some very high impact use cases that we have seen deliver fantastic results for our customers and just picked those. So the first is you submit a candidate. Your hiring manager might just miss that submittal. They are busy. They might, forget to give you feedback on that candidate, and you are working on multiple different searches, multiple different candidates and submissions. You might just forget to follow up with that hiring manager, and the candidate is now slipped through the cracks, right? To make sure that that doesn't happen, what you can do is, if there is a submission and there is no feedback for 4 days, 5 days, whatever that period is, on the next day, automatically, get yourself a reminder that, hey, submission was made, but there is no feedback. So, do something about it, right? So imagine how many candidates fall through the cracks at the submittal stage where you don't get adequate feedback from your hiring managers. And, imagine that you could reduce that by 80%. So that's the kind of impact that just this one process automation can drive for you. Or if you are, putting tasks and reminders for yourself once you make a submittal that, hey, if I don't get a feedback, follow up with this. And if you're doing that manually, remember that you don't have to create those tasks and reminders in your calendar. That's the power of automation. Internal Slack or Teams notification. Again, right, like if you are, most teams that either work remotely or have, more than 6 or 7 people, they work a lot on Slack or Teams. We've seen a lot of our customers actually have, shared channels with their clients on Slack and Microsoft Teams. And you can automatically send notifications, events that are important, right? So if a submission was made in a Slack notification, or if an interview was rescheduled, send a Slack notification. Another thing is that a lot of managers and founders struggle with is allocating resources to the right searches, to the right jobs, right? So imagine you have 5, 6, every recruiter is working on 5 or 6 different open positions. Some of them are critical, right? And they are coming from, a client that you've done a lot of business with, or, really, really high potential search. You want to make sure that they spend more time with those searches than the ones that are, coming from maybe, let's say, a new client, or a smaller client, or maybe not a very high potential search. So how do you do that, right? So you can have guardrails in place that, hey, this is a high, high priority search for me. If there is no activity or there is no submission in this search for 4 days or 7 days, whatever that turnaround time is for you, it needs to, I need to, be notified about it, right? So again, really, really helpful in terms of you optimizing your people's time towards things that are going to give you the best results, right? So if you are managing a team of more than 4 or 5 recruiters, this is something that we've seen a lot of our users struggle with. Again, right, like a game changer in terms of how, it can deliver results for you. Then you've got, summarizing a report, right? Like one, as I said, right, like one amazing thing that AI can do is recognize patterns. And if you can submit reports, like real raw Excel reports to AI, or in Recruiter, where you can actually submit like report link to RFGPT, and it can summarize that, hey, your recruiter A is amazing at, does a lot of screening, but does not really have a great, screening to submittal ratio or screening to interview ratio. On the other hand, this other recruiter does not really do a lot of screening, but have great ratio. So, how you can, mentor and coach your team to keep on doing better, right? So that's what AI can do for you. All right. So this is process automation. I want to give a couple of heuristics in terms of what are the right. So, there is so many processes. What is the right process to pick to automate, right? So first rule of thumb, right? Like if you are if you are creating tasks or reminders for yourself to do something after something has been done, that's your prime prospect for automation, right? So once you have made a submittal, you are reminding yourself to get feedback in case you didn't. That's your that's the first place that you should automate. The second is if you are continuously struggling with resource allocation, right? Like if you have to go through all the jobs, every activity of all your team members, and then weekly do resource planning. So instead of doing that, let it be more proactive, right? So that's reactive. It has already happened. Now you can be more proactive about it, right? So wherever you need to go from reactive to proactive, again, a prime candidate for process automation. And third is whenever there is an information handover happening, right? So if you have a process of internal submittal, or if you have, if you have a process where after the placement, right, like there is a bunch of things that need to happen, like billing, ref check, all of that, right? So wherever there is information handover happening from one team to another or from one person to another, that's where process automation is going to be amazing for you, right? So that is how you should be thinking about how to automate your processes. Now, the reason that I put this as number 2 is because for process automation to work, you might have to change your processes a little bit. You will you will get that resistance to change. You will get that, it will be difficult for you to get that buy-in from your colleagues, from your managers, from the management. But again, it's a process. You start and you keep delivering, and then, as I said, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. These things work really, really well. We've seen that work really well with our customers. Just wanted to give a quick example of the process automation, right? So I have this trigger that if there is no activity 4 days after the submittal, right? So you had not received feedback from the client, and automatically there is a Slack message that goes out to the account manager that, hey, the client has not given any feedback on this. Maybe can you chase the client, right? So again, right, like just does this automatically. You don't have to put reminders yourself. It only surfaces information that is relevant instead of, looking at all the submittals and figuring out where do you need to go and follow, right? So very powerful in terms of how you can, kind of really increase everybody's productivity in the team. Right? So just one example of process automation right there. I also want to say that we have internally at Recruiter we have a dedicated automation team that can, really do a deep dive with you in terms of, how, what your processes are, what are the gaps in terms of automation, what should be, what are some of the ways that you can implement it, and just go about and really help you implement this roadmap, go on that 3 months, 6 months journey for you to be able to do this, right? So that's the process automation. Up next is most difficult one, the nurturing automation. So this is like having a full-fledged marketing automation engine or your recruiting. Remember, sometime back when we were talking about AI and matching, that it's very important for your data to be up to date. So if you placed a candidate, you gave them that white glove experience, you delivered that, incredible candidate experience. Now that candidate has gotten a promotion, or they change jobs and now they're a hiring manager, they're a decision maker. This is the right trigger for you to rekindle that relationship and, win new business, right? So, very easy automation that you can implement in Recruiter Flow with our data refresh feature. And whenever somebody gets promoted, just automatically reach out to them, just say that, congratulations, I'm getting a promotion, yada, yada, yada. Do you have any expansion plans, hiring plans? We can help, so whatever your outreach strategy is, right? So again, it's much easier said than done, but very high, difficult to implement, but very, very high ROI kind of an activity, right? So you want to stay in touch with your, top 10% of candidates in your industry. You want to stay in touch with those must-win accounts that you have, right? So we, with marketing or nurturing automation, which is kind of like marketing automation for recruiting, you can make sure that you are always in front of your target market. However, this requires 2 prerequisites. First, as I said, having up-to-date data, right? That's absolutely essential, that your data is up to date. And number 2 is it works much better when you have a little bit of marketing bandwidth, right? So if you have even a part-time person who's helping you, create marketing collateral, whether that's ebooks, infographics, right? Like whatever works for your industry, right? So that you have a reason to be in front of your target audience, right? So you need to, develop that bandwidth. You need to develop that new function for this to be really, really effective. Not saying that is, needed in almost all the cases. That we have seen cases where without a marketing team, they have, delivered great results. But, we have seen what we have seen is that in majority of the cases for this to work, you need to have some kind of process around your data, making sure the data is fresh, and making sure that you have some kind of marketing, some kind of content, so that you have a reason to stay in front of your target market, right? So these are some nurturing automation use cases. Let me again give you an example, right? So we have this automation built in Recruiter Flow, right? So where we place the candidate, we recognize this as a high potential candidate, right? So we follow a star rating. So there's a star rating system, right? So, and it's been 6 months since you last touched them, right? So kind of automatically add them to a campaign where you're rekindling that relationship. So you can do this pretty easily. So, just staying in touch with your top placements, right? So, so a lot of potential over here, but difficult to implement. We typically advise everybody that, 3 months, at least a quarter into, your journey into automation is when you should start thinking about, nurturing automation. Again, we have an internal team of experts. We've done this for thousands of accounts, delivered great results, right? So we recently put out a case study with Total Deviation, a customer of Recruiter Flow, with that communication and process automation, basically increased their throughput, right? And so the number of candidates and number of jobs that a recruiter is handling at a time by almost 3x. So really 3x increase in their processing speed, and much more impressively, they reduced their time to make a recruiter profitable, right? So a new recruiter comes in, all the processes, all the automations are set up for them, right? So all they're doing is talking to candidates, talking to clients, making decisions, right? So all they're doing is just that, and the automation is taking care of everything else, pretty much everything else for them. So the time to turn a recruiter profitable decreased from about 6 months to a little over 2 months, right? So that's about 66% decrease in time to make a recruiter profitable, right? So again, very, very encouraging results, right? So that's the power of AI and automation deployed strategically.